All right, 2.1 is a review of Algebra 1. Shh. It's a review of Algebra 1. But we got to be able to do this so that we can do our next lesson tomorrow. So we're going to recall the formula to find slope. Does anybody remember how we find slope? That's slope-intercept form.
Hey, thank you.
What's the slope? y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. You guys remember that? Now, you may have seen it y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1. You may have had the 2's first, but it does not matter. You're going to get the same answer. And I like doing 1's first because then you're not hopping over something and coming back. All right? So we're going to say this is equal to m, which is the letter that represents slope. And Quentin, you just told me what is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Is there anyone in this room who has never seen y equals mx plus b before? Good. What does the m represent? The slope. And what does the b represent? The y-intercept. Good. It's important that we remember that as we get into what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so let's just do a quick recall. How do we find the slope? So let's find the slope of these 2 points using our formula. Remember, we can label them x1, y1, x2, y2. Your 1's and 2's should be low numbers, not high numbers. They are not exponents. You're going to want to be really careful with your signs as you're doing this. Be really careful with your signs as you're doing this. Y's always go on top. So I'm going to have 3 minus 0 over negative 2 minus 2. Same change, or keep change, whichever way you remember it. 3 minus 0 in the numerator is still 3. What is negative 2 minus 2? Negative 4. It's not 0. It's negative 4, right? So the slope here is minus 2. Yep.
You got a negative, you got negative.
Change the
that 2 becomes a negative.
Yep. So negative 2 plus a negative 2. Negative 2 plus a negative 2 becomes negative 4. So our slope is 3 over negative 4. Now, if you did your y2 first and your x2 first, then you would get negative 3 over positive 4. It means the same thing. Okay, so I don't really care where your negative sign is, top or bottom. It's going to mean the same thing. All right, try B without me. Try letter B without me. Don't move forward. Just try letter B. Yep, find the slope of letter B. Be really careful with your signs. In the numerator, I have 2 minus and negative 3. What happens to those 2 negative signs?
Are you saying change in both the lines?
Yep. So 2 negatives beside each other become a positive. So on the top, I really have 2 plus 3, which is 5. And then in the denominator, again, I have two negative signs that are beside each other, so they both become positive. Negative 2 plus 2, 0. Excellent. Now, 5 divided by 0 is not an acceptable answer. Someone tell me why this is not an acceptable answer.
Because anything divided by 0 is 0.
Anything divided by 0 is not 0. It's not 1 either.
What?
Try this in your calculator. Take your calculator. Everyone take your calculator. Josh, grab your calculator. What's it going to say, Josh? Error. Because you can't ever divide a number by 0. So when 0 is in the denominator, it is what we call undefined. An undefined slope. Do you guys remember talking about an undefined slope?
Yes.
Long time ago.
Very long.
Now, if 0 is in the numerator, then what's our answer going to be?
0.
0. Because 0 in the numerator, you can divide by 0, or you can divide 0 by something that's just going to be 0. All right, I need you to understand something. If you're doing homework and you get 0 in the denominator and you leave your answer like this, 5 over 0, you will not get full credit. You will get full credit if you write the word undefined. Okay, you have to be able to know that 5 over 0 actually changes into an undefined slope. That's what it means. And you need to be able to tell me that at the geometry level. Do not leave it as 5 over 0. Okay? All right. Two lines are called what if they have the same slope? If two lines have the same slope, what are they called?
Parallel.
Thank you. Parallel lines. So two lines are parallel if they have the same slope. Please spell parallel correctly. P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L. Parallel.
So what's a parallelogram?
Ooh, we'll talk about a parallelogram in Unit 8.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, 6, Unit 6.
How many units are there?
7. All right, here's the symbol for parallel. It looks like an 11. That's the symbol for parallel. Parallel if they have the same slope. Do you have your vocabulary sheets out? No. Parallel is a vocabulary word. Parallel lines. You need to write have the same slope. That's what you're looking for there. Parallel. Is it just the word parallel or is it parallel lines?
Parallel lines.
Okay, parallel lines have the same slope. And I believe slope is also a vocabulary word, yes? Okay. All right, so I would put my formulas in the slope and slope-intercept form boxes as well. So our vocabulary sheets, we are looking for slope, parallel lines, and slope-intercept form. Okay, we also have another word that says two lines are good, perpendicular. And the symbol for perpendicular, do you guys remember from yesterday's notes or from Thursday? That's congruent. Is an upside down T. This is the symbol for perpendicular. Two lines are perpendicular if their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So you need to write slopes are opposite reciprocals for perpendicular lines. I would also write the symbol in my box. And this is lesson 2.1, so if you need to go back and look, this is lesson 2.1, which is what that third column or that other box is for, that smaller box in your vocab is for you to write what lesson it's from. So this is lesson 2.1. perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. It's really important for us to remember what opposite reciprocal means. Opposite means that we're going to use the different sign, and reciprocal means we're going to be flipping the fraction. Okay, so opposite means we're going to use a different sign. Reciprocal means we're going to be flipping the fraction. So if I gave you 2/3, what is the opposite reciprocal of 2/3? Negative, right? We have to change the sign. -3/2 or 3/2, however you want to say that. That would be the opposite reciprocal. What is the opposite reciprocal of -4? Positive, and then, right, because -4 really has a 1 underneath it. We don't usually ever write it like that, but it does. Every whole number has a 1 underneath it. So when we flip it, it really becomes positive 1/4. These are opposite reciprocals of each other if you need an example. Okay? Right here. Right here. Thank you.
I thought I was slick.
Yep, too bad. I'm not that much older than you. You're not that slick. All right, are lines A, B, and CD parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Let me tell you something. You have a question just like this one on your next test. There is a question just like this one on your next test. And students try to do this graphically. You need to prove this algebraically. And proving this algebraically will let you do that by finding the slopes of each thing. Okay? So let's find the slope of AB first and compare it to the slope of CD. Okay, so we're going to find the slope of AB. So I'd like you to label. So this is what I'm looking for. The slope of AB. What is that? So you're going to use your points over there.
She wants to solve for
Yep.
AB and then solve for
No. Yeah, well, yes, you're finding the slope. So you're using your slope formula for AB. Don't say it out loud. You do it on your paper. And then the slope of CD. Don't blurt it out, please. So I have the slope of AB as 1/4. Raise your hand if you have the slope of AB as 1/4. 3 of you? Thank you. Because -3 over -12 reduces to 1/4. Okay, and then the slope of CD, I'm getting -4. Is anyone else getting -4 for the slope of CD? Okay. -4/1 is the same thing. Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. In fact, -4/1 might make it easier as we compare the two. So I have a positive 1/4 and I have a -4/1. Are these slopes the same? Are they the opposite reciprocal or are they neither? What would you guys say? Okay, so they're opposite reciprocal. If they're opposite reciprocal, does that mean these two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither?
Perpendicular.
Okay, why do you say neither?
Actually, it's perpendicular.
Oh, good, good. You came back to it. Why is it perpendicular?
Because their slopes are opposite reciprocal.
Perfect. Okay, so Samantha is reminding us that the slopes are opposite reciprocals. And so because they're opposite reciprocals, we know that they're perpendicular. So this is how we're going to write our final answer. AB is perpendicular to CD. And we're talking about lines. So we're going to draw our line symbol above them. This would be your final answer. This is what I'm looking for on a test. And remember, we starred this question because this is a quiz question or test question. Okay, any questions on letter C? Okay, let's graph letter D. Let's get some graphing practice in. We're actually going to graph quite a bit here in geometry class. So let's graph a line that has a slope of -3/5 and it goes through the point 5, -2. What do we need to graph first, the slope or the point? What do you think we need to graph first? The point. We need to graph the point first. So, because if I graph my slope, I'm graphing my slope from the point 0, right? And I need it to go through 5, -2. All right, so everyone draw 5, -2 on your graph. Make a point there. Remember, you only need 1 point, not 2 points.
So do you go up 5?
Ah, okay, remembering. How do we graph this point? Does anybody remember how we graph a point? X first. So we're going to go which direction first? To the right 5 and then down 2. Good, Samantha. So to the right 5 and down 2. That's where we're going to make our first point.
And then that's where you start with the
Excellent.
Down 3, over to the right 5.
Okay, now here's the question. The slope has the negative sign out in the middle. So is a negative going with a 3 or is it going with a 5?
It doesn't really matter.
3? No, it goes with the line.
Either.
Okay, but going with a line doesn't help.
It's -3.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, Patrick, as far as which angle the line is going at. Okay?
I don't think it matters.
So here's the thing. It does not matter. So I would like us to graph a point like this. Down 3 and over 5. And then up 3 and back 5. Graph 1 in each direction. Go down 3 and to the right 5. Okay. Down 3 and to the right 5. And then let's graph one going up 3 and back 5.
Oh, I thought it was -3 over -5.
There's only one negative sign. So whether I use the negative going down and then over or up and back, I should still be in line. Do you see how my 3 dots are in line? You said no, Quentin? Did you go? You okay now? All right. So now I'll grab you some rulers. Oh man, that was horrible. Please make sure that your line goes all the way. Oh wow, that was bad. Goes all the way through the graph. Okay, I don't want little baby lines. Your your line needs to stretch the entire graph. Can you wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want?
Let's try letter E. It says a line that contains P and is perpendicular to JK. All right, there's a lot going on here. The first thing that we need to do before you start graphing all your points, we don't know the slope of this new line. All we know is that it is perpendicular to JK. So how would we find the slope that we want to use if we know that it's perpendicular to JK?
Use our slope formula.
The opposite or reciprocal of the slope of JK.
All right, so Brianna is reminding us that we need to find the slope of JK first. So put your candy down. Find the slope of JK first. Find the slope of JK. That means pick up your pencil. So -4 plus 2, -2, -5 minus 0 is -5. But -2 over -5 is really just what? Positive 2/5. Remember, we're looking for the perpendicular slope. So what's the perpendicular slope of 2/5? -5 over 2. Or the negative could be where? Where else could the negative be? Instead of with the 5, it could be with the 2. Good, it doesn't really matter. Okay. So now we have the slope that we need to use with point P. So let's graph point P first.
We have to label it P.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Samantha. So she said, do we need to label it point P? And my answer is yes. And then from point P, we're going to use our slope of -5 over 2. So we're going to go down 5 and to the right 2. So I went down 5 and over 2. Down 5 and to the right 2. We're going to draw a line. Make sure that you have arrows on the ends. Yes?
Does it matter which 2 points you use for JK, or do you have to use both separately?
Say that question again.
Like, do you have to use -5 and -4 and 0 and -2, or just one of?
You're not actually putting that on the graph. You're only like using that for the slope.
So we haven't put those 2 points on the graph yet,
Yeah, that's
right?
what I meant. Like when you go to graph,
Yes.
it doesn't matter which one you pick.
We will in just a minute. Once we get this line drawn, we will put the other 2 on there, yes, to show that it is perpendicular. Yeah. In the first, we just use it to find the slope, right? And then we're going to use it to find, to make sure that it's perpendicular. Okay, I'm going to use my blue marker. I want you to put the other 2 points. Put J and K on your graph. Label them J and K. Graph those 2 points, -5, -4, 0, -2. Graph those 2 points on your graph, please. -5, -4 is J. Zero, -2 is K. And then we're going to put a line between them. Between J and K. So we're putting a line between J and K.
I'm confused.
Okay. What's the symbol that we use for perpendicular? We talked about this a little bit in the notes on Wednesday. Upside down T, but perpendicular lines create what? Do you guys remember? What? An X, okay, but they also create a right angle. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
And a right angle, we use that little box symbol. So I would like you to put your right angle symbol there between your 2 lines to signify that it is perpendicular. that means that these make a right angle if they are perpendicular. Okay? Any questions before we go on? Okay, now this is where it's going to sound very familiar as far as Algebra 1A was concerned. So let's look at the back page. It says, write an equation of a line, stop. That was really for everyone. Anytime you see it say, write an equation of a line, I want you to stop. So this write of an equation of a line means that you should begin your work by writing down y equals mx plus b. No matter what the rest of the problem says, you're going to need to use y equals mx plus b when it says, write the equation of the line. Stop. Okay. So we're writing the equation of the line that is, what is that word there? Parallel. It's really important. If they are parallel, what do you know about their slopes? No. Crystal, look back at your notes. Come on. They are the same slope. Make yourself a note here. A way you can remember that is that the two L's are right beside each other and they're exactly the same. Right? Parallel. The two L's are right there beside each other and they're exactly the same. Okay, so if they're parallel, they have the same slope. So as this graph, y equals 1/2 x plus 6. The only reason I need this equation is for what purpose? No.
Plug in the two.
Not yet.
Find your B.
No.
For the slope.
For the slope. That's the only reason why I need this equation is for the slope. What is the slope here?
1/2.
What's the slope here? Crystal, what is the slope of letter F? That equation there. 1/2. Not the x, just 1/2. So I'm going to be using a slope of 1/2. I don't need this anymore. Please cross it out because you're going to confuse yourself if you don't. The only reason you need that equation is just to get the slope out of it. Once you get the slope, you're done. And it tells me the y-intercept is -2. What letter in my equation, CJ, represents the y-intercept? In y equals mx plus b, what represents the y-intercept? Okay, and what letter does it go in for? B. Excellent. So my b over here is -2. So if you know the slope and you know the y-intercept, can you write an equation? Yes. Josh, you want to hit it for us?
Y equals 1/2 x plus or minus -2.
Okay, so plus a -2. Yeah, we're just going to use just one negative sign. Good. Y equals 1/2 x minus 2. That's going to be the equation if you were to graph it, bless you, would be parallel to the other equation. That's it.
Oh, wow. I could have just did that on myself.
Yeah.
Okay, letter G says write the equation of a line that is, stop. Write the equation of a line. What does that mean we need to do? Thank you.
Stop.
That is perpendicular. What does perpendicular mean we're going to do with the slopes, Patrick? Okay. Think about what I'm asking you. Perpendicular slopes are what kind of slopes? What do you know about them? Your friend Emily Hagee is trying to help you out.
Just say it, Emily. Just say it. I'm out of it. There you go.
They're opposite reciprocals. I'm coming back to you about this, Patrick, so be ready. Perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals.
Well, all it is y -4.
Okay, so the only reason that I need this equation is to find the what out of that? The slope. And so, Patrick, here we go. What is the perpendicular slope? First of all, what is the slope in this equation? -4. So what's the opposite reciprocal slope?
+4.
No. You got the opposite part right. What does reciprocal mean you have to do? Yes, you have to flip it, right? So the perpendicular slope that we want is 1/4. Now I don't want this equation, so I'm going to cross it out because otherwise it's going to confuse you. You're going to think you need to do something with that 9. And it tells me the y-intercept is 0, 3. So sometimes you remember plugging in x and y, right, when they give you a point. But they're telling you, look, same words, y-intercept, y-intercept, the same words. The y-intercept is 0, 3, which means your b value is just 3. Good. So if you know your slope and you know your b, can you write your equation? The answer should be yes. Emily Hagee, give it to me. Amazing. Y equals 1/4 x plus 3. Bada bing, bada boom. Brianna.
What if, I was confused, like if it had another point besides 0?
We're going to get into that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so then you're right. You would plug in your x and y and solve for b. Okay, we'll review and do one of those. All right. Let's look at letter H. Letter H says determine if the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. What are we going to do to determine this?
Put them both in standard form. And then cross it out and then solve for it.
Yeah, that's elimination.
Fine, no,
Emily?
I don't think so, it's not elimination.
Not elimination. How do we know if two things are perpendicular or parallel? We look at their what?
Slopes.
Slopes.
So the bottom equations, you have to put them in slope-intercept form.
All right. So, Samantha just reminded us we need them to be in slope-intercept form. If you look at letter H, y equals 3x plus 2. Quentin, what is the slope of y equals 3x plus 2? What is the slope of the first equation there in letter H?
-1/3.
Nope. Just looking at this equation, what is the slope in this equation? Just what is the m value?
Oh, 3.
Just 3. Okay. So the slope here is just 3. So we're comparing that slope with the slope that we find in the other one. So now we need to take 9x minus 3y equals -6. We need to change this into slope-intercept form. Remember that? Okay, so we're going to change 9x minus 3y equals -6 into slope-intercept form. How do I do that? Not divide yet. You kind of switch it around, yes. But mathematically speaking, that is subtracting 9x. I get -3y equals, I'm going to put the -9x right in front so that it's already in order. -9x minus 6. Now divide everything by -3. Is it all coming back to you? Y equals 3x plus 2. What is the slope of this equation, Quentin? 3. So each equation, the slope is the same. So if the slopes are the same for the two lines, CJ, what kind of lines are these?
Parallel.
Parallel lines. So we're going to write parallel. I would like you to try letter I on your own. If you are watching this video, go ahead and pause it right now and try to find the slopes for letter I. Okay, so Josh, what is the slope of the first line up here? -2. Brianna, what is the slope of the other line? Did you get it worked out? Did anybody else get +1/2?
Yep.
Who else got +1/2? Raise your hand. Okay, so +1/2. Okay, so Josh, are the... Oh, I just called it... Wait, no, I didn't. Yeah, I did. Josh, it's okay. You can answer again. Are these parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Are they the same? No. So they're not parallel. Excellent. Why? Excellent. They're opposite reciprocals, right? And so if you miss a negative sign somewhere along the way, you're not going to get the right answer. So these would be perpendicular. Good. Okay, last two and then we're done. Last two examples. Write an equation of a line that goes through the point 4, 3 and it's parallel to x equals 0. Excellent. I love it. I love it.
Oh, you just scared me for a minute.
I forgot how to write it.
Write the equation of a line.
Stop.
Everyone should be saying stop. Okay. All right. Y equals mx plus b. Now, this is one that's a little bit funky because it says it's parallel to x equals 0. There are going to be ones in your homework today that you're going to need to draw an example of what this looks like because visually this doesn't make any sense. Mind your own business. So, if I draw this, what does x equals 0 look like?
A dot in the middle.
Yeah.
In the middle.
X equals 0, anytime there's no m or there's no b, x equals 0 is always a vertical line.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a vertical line. You guys need to make yourself a note of this because this is going to happen in your homework today. If it's x equals something, it's always a vertical line. At x equals 0. So when x is 0, this is the line. So if we're going to draw one that is that's parallel and it's going through the point 4, 3. Let's just plot what that would look like. 4, 3. So it has to hit this point, but it's also going to be parallel, which means it's going to be what kind of a line? It's also going to be a vertical line. So the question is, what's the equation of this line over here? Well, we just said if it's a vertical line, it has to be x equals something, right? X equals something is always going to give me a vertical line. Well, what does the x value equal over there? What x value is it going through? Crystal says 4. I would agree with her that it keeps going through 4, right? Like this is the point 4, 0. This would be the point 4, 3. If I were to put a point down here, it would be 4, negative 2. All along there, x is 4. So this would be my final answer, x equals 4. Because if I'm going to draw a vertical line that's parallel, it also is x equals something.
So a vertical line is not really y equals mx.
Exactly. A vertical line is not y equals mx plus b. Does anybody remember what a horizontal line is?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Okay. What's the equation for a horizontal line? Y equals something, right? So let's make ourselves a note down at the bottom because you're going to need this. Y equals a number is a horizontal line. Make yourself a note at the bottom, please. You're going to need this for your homework. Horizontal goes this way. X equals a number means that it is a vertical line. Meaning it goes up and down. You're going to need to know that for your homework today. All right. Let's work on letter K. Goes through the point 3, 4, and it is perpendicular to y equals negative 2x minus 4. If it's perpendicular to this equation, what's the only purpose for having this equation right here? To find the slope. And the current slope is negative 2. Okay, right? The current slope is negative 2. But if it's perpendicular, then that means I want the what kind of slope, Quentin? If it's perpendicular to y equals negative 2x minus 4, what slope do you want? Because right now the slope is negative 2. Do we want to keep negative 2 or we want to flip it around? Okay, so what is the opposite reciprocal slope?
Positive 1/2.
Positive 1/2. Good. So now I can get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. So I know the slope that I want to use is 1/2. Do I know what the y-intercept is? What is the y-intercept? It's only a y-intercept if the x value is 0. So we don't actually know what the y-intercept is. So now we're going back to Algebra 1, where this is my x and my y. And what can I do with that x and y?
Cross multiply.
Not cross multiply.
Plug it in.
Plug them in. Okay, so I'm pulling this information that is so deep inside of your hearts. I have to yank and pull it out. No, I don't know. Okay, here we go. So the y value is 4.
Oh, just keep teaching. Like, don't.
The m is 1/2. X is 3 plus b. So all we're doing is plugging in the x, y values so that we can find out what the y-intercept is. Now I have 4 equals, do not use your calculator, 3 over 2 plus b, right, because that was 3 over 1, so we multiply across. Now, we have a fraction. How do you get rid of a fraction in a problem, Emily? Multiply by what? By the denominator, I think is what you're looking for. We're going to multiply, the denominator is 2, so that's the fraction we want to get rid of. So we're going to multiply the entire problem, the entire equation by 2, and that's going to get rid of your fraction. You will have fractions in your homework today, which is why it's important that you're paying attention right now. Whatever your denominator is, you multiply the entire equation by that. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 over 1 times 3 over 2 gives you 6 over 2, right? 6 over 2. Plus 2 times b is 2b. Now we did this so that we could get rid of the fractions, and 6 over 2 is really what? 3, right? So that's why we did this, so that we could actually have 3 plus 2b. Solve this for b, please. Solve this for b, please. And we're getting b to be 5 over 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, leave it as 5 over 2. Do not give me a decimal value. Now, this was only part of the problem, right? I needed to find b, and I need to use my m to write my equation.
What if you put, instead of that, put 2 and 1/2?
No, that would be okay, but I would prefer you to just leave it as 5 over 2. So, what is my finished equation here, CJ? What's my finished equation? If m is 1/2 and b is 5 over 2, what's my finished equation? Do you have your m?
I'm drawing a blank right now.
Okay. Remember our final equation, we want to do y equals mx plus b. So CJ, if y equals mx plus b, what is your m value?
-2.
The m value that we found was 1/2, right? Okay, so y equals 1/2 x. And then what is my b value?
-2.
Nope. What was our b value that we found at the very bottom?
I'm messing up right now.
Okay, Crystal, help him out. What's the b value?
5 over 2.
So we're going to add 5 over 2. So your final equation should be y equals 1/2 x plus 5 over 2.